we now welcome in Mike Fauscette from IDC. Mike, you are Group VP of Software Business Solutions?
That's correct.
You've earned that title too, haven't you?
I have indeed.
Welcome to the show. Glad to have you here, Mike. For people that don't know about you, let's just dive into this topic, the CRM revolution. You clearly are a thought leader in this space. We are in a revolution, aren't we? And how are companies dealing with this?
Well, actually, the first thing I wanted to say is that Esteban has nothing over me on socks. So, in the spirit of revolution,
But I bet you don't eat them.
The sock revolution. But no, I don't eat them. No. Now, I was thinking about this all the way through, listening to different people talk, and is it a revolution? Is it evolution? I mean, it's definitely changing quite a bit and really quickly. And guess what? There are a lot of companies that aren't happy and aren't doing well and are struggling to sort out kind of all the things that have changed. At some point I was thinking about this before. We used to say this a lot when we first started looking at social. Oh, customers' expectations have changed. And then after a while I thought, wait, that's really kind of stupid. Customer expectations haven't changed at all. In fact, they wanted to get value for their money. They wanted to be treated fairly. They still want that, right? But what has changed is the expectation that you will meet their expectation. And if you don't, they'll do something else. I mean, that's the real shift. So if you think of that as the base for this, then why does Esteban's data show what it shows, and why are companies struggling with social, and why? Well, I think it's really a lot of it is just a fundamental issue, a couple of big issues. One is that, and a couple of people mentioned this before, that we haven't solved our workforce problems. So until we can actually solve our own organizational issues, we are really going to struggle with how we present the company to a group, to our customers, and meet the customers' expectations and learn how to do that. Because we're fighting amongst ourselves. We can't even solve our own issue right now. That's one. And the other thing is, and this goes back to this activity we used to do called customer journey mapping. Mm-hmm. That was a great thing when it first came out. Everybody was really excited. Ooh, let's map the customer journey. Let's lay this right out. And now, you know what? Customers, they don't follow your map.
Yeah.
They don't follow your map. What do we do?
Maybe there isn't
well, that's
map,
the problem,
because
right?
Every customer journey is different.
You're absolutely right.
My journey today is different from my journey tomorrow.
Well, that's right. So what I think is we've got to stop thinking of this mapping thing, and we've got to start thinking of a modeling thing. In other words, why don't we sit down and go, what is the customer actually going to do? Well, guess what? We can't control that. But what we can control is our ability to be there where the customer is whenever they are.
And be ready.
And be ready. That's exactly right. So it's really about building this potential, this model that says, here are all the possibilities. And we have to be ready to deal with those possibilities. So, on Friday I had an issue with a bank, and I got forced to use an IVR, which I hate. So I started out upset because they didn't meet my expectations. And then I had to talk to customer service people. And then I got switched around to a whole bunch of different people. Guess what? My experience really through the floor. Yeah. So you know what I did? What do you think I did? Of course you know what I did. I tweeted. I said, this bank sucks. I said they had socks. Yeah, that's it. and guess what?
What happened?
Immediately, they tweeted back to me and said, that's not what we do here. We're really upset by this. Please call us at this number, and we'll help you with your problem.
We'll give you some money.
And they mailed me a check. No, but so my point, all of a sudden, I went from to and then I called them in. I didn't expect them to solve my problem on Twitter. I just wanted to bash them. That's really all I wanted to do, right? I was just angry. What they did, though, is they understood that, and they immediately took me to a place where we could have a conversation, and they could solve my problem. And they solved my problem. And they were escalation people, and they were expensive, and there were all these things. But you know what? They had modeled out the potential, and they had an answer for that. That's what I think companies really have to think about.
I think you just brought up a great point that, well, that's a real-time, and you keep bringing up real-time customer engagement and an opportunity that a bank took, and they happened to be there. It wasn't by chance that they happened to be there, because they modeled, because they had a place for you to have a conversation and voice your opinion, negative or positive. So that's the important part of it, right? That there was a place to do all that.
Well, the point was they were listening, and they listened and they heard. And when they heard, they had an appropriately trained individual lead me to a place.
Yeah, but hold on one second.
Right?
I think there's a point before that, that they were listening and they heard. But how many companies do we hear from, oh, it's an omni-channel world, I can't be everywhere at every time and not listen? They were listening and they heard because they were in the right place at the right time. That was not a mistake.
No, that wasn't a mistake.
Right.
No, and that actually goes back to this whole, social's hard and it's not scalable and those kinds of things. The truth is, listening isn't really that hard. It's a technology, and it's a part of your strategy to implement that technology that has you capture those things and direct them to a way to solve your problem. We have to leverage the technology as a part of this. The technology is never a solution, by the way. It's only a way to work in your strategy. But at the same time, it's a key part of that. And it has to, and across all of these things, there has to be a way to solve. Now, they still had other issues, by the way, organizationally. That's actually why the whole problem happened, because they had silos inside the organization.
Yeah.
So kudos, but also, there's more work to do.
I think I'd like to jump in here for a second, just for a second, Volker, because I think before we run out of time with Mike, we haven't touched on mobile, I think, enough in this show yet. And you're going to give a presentation Wednesday?
Tomorrow, actually. Yeah, tomorrow.
Here at CRM Evolution about mobile and about all of it. So when it comes to mobile, I mean, you just said this before. It's not about the devices. It's the Steve Jobs line. It's about what they can do for you and what technology can do for you. But when it comes to mobile and when it comes to CRM, what's some of the important fundamentals?
Here's the thing. So first of all, this is a difficult thing, right? Because we're talking about satisfying, which means meeting my expectation, which means knowing my expectation, which, by the way, is different than Volker's and is different than yours and is different than Brent's and is different. We all have our own, right? We own
I don't
those.
wear socks.
We own those, and he doesn't. Be right. He doesn't wear socks. And so because our expectations are different, we've got to figure out a way to connect and understand and individualize and personalize. And so you think about today. Think of the customer today. And I have numbers that I'll show tomorrow in my presentation that talks about the growth of smartphones and how they're being used and all these things. But the simple answer is, this is not a channel. It is, in fact, the connection point to me 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It is the thing that I'm willing to use. And if you can figure out the value proposition for me to use it and engage and do and interact with you, then you have gained something from me that's absolutely critical and really, 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 really valuable. And that's that connection.
Which brings us back to the outside in versus inside out.
There you go.
Right?
Yeah.
For you, this is your point of access.
Right.
For the company, it might be multiple channels, but that's irrelevant to you.
Right, and I don't think of it that way. And I have two teenage daughters, and at one point I was thinking of watching my older daughter with her boyfriend have a conversation with, conversation, I use that term loosely, on one Saturday. It went on for 14, 15 hours straight, and it never left the mobile device. But it was on IM, it was text, it was on Facebook, it was on Instagram, it was on Twitter, it was on. They don't think that way.
Right.
They don't think that way.
Well, let me guess, they were sitting across from the table from
Well,
each
they
other
could have
the whole
been.
15
No, they
I
actually
have
worked
3
this time,
teenage
right?
daughters, so I know.
No, I mean, I can have a conversation with them sitting in the living room by text.
Yes, we
that's the
know,
fastest way.
we know.
But my point is that this is an integration
Yeah.
thing, right? It's just a portal. It's the connection point. And all those things to us are channels, but to them, they're not. And they really aren't to you, right? Do you really think that way in your own activity? You don't really. And so that's the thing we've got to learn. It's the connection point.
The connection
How do you leverage the connection point?
Again, we're going to run out of time, but Volker, one last thing you want to get from Mike here. He's taken us in so many interesting directions here. But when it comes to, CRM specifically, what do we want to hear from Mike? One final thought.
I would like to know, we're all seeing these trends and what customers are asking for. If you look at organizations, and Esteban brought this up, he mentioned some industries and said they don't really care that much.
Right.
which industries do you kind of see at the forefront of, really engaging with these empowered customers in new ways and go mobile and kind of get it?
Well, I think I used
Or
to.
is it individual
Well,
companies?
it's in some cases individual companies, but there are also some kind of normal things you can think of. Like, for example, and I'll even contradict myself later, because I'll say in B2C kind of worlds today, you've seen it more, only because the power of switching and the power of doing the thing that is the threat to you is easier in this kind of example of, I'm in Best Buy and I check the price on Amazon and I buy from my mobile phone instead of buying in the store because it was cheaper. Those are easy examples, right? But B2B and B2C, I still think they're really the same, because it's really person to person, not B2B or B2C. So I think all of the industries eventually have to take a look at this. But it is really a good point that I might be upset with some certain airline, but they happen to be the 90% of the flights that I need to take happen to be on that airline, and I don't have another choice. So instead of switching, I just bash them every chance I get, because that's just what I do, right? But I'm still unhappy with them, and they don't meet my expectations, and I'm dissatisfied, but I can't vote in a way that they care about today. But you know what? Somebody's going to disrupt them, and eventually there will be a choice, and I'll exercise that choice immediately. I was unhappy with one really large mobile phone carrier for many years, and I didn't have a good alternative. And now I will say this brand, now I'm a T-Mobile customer, and I'm really happy about that, because they gave me an alternative that was really attractive. And I broke and went a different direction. So I voted, and that's going to happen eventually with all of the businesses that we see out there, because there'll be an alternative. It may be a technology disruptor, it may be whatever, but it'll be disruption.
Mike Fauscette from IDC. Mike, thanks for being a part of the show.
Thanks. This is great.
Appreciate having you on.
me.
Stay right there for 1 second, my friend. You are watching the Customer Edge.